So, if you're a youth soccer coach, you know you're not just teaching a game, right? You're actually building players. But what's the secret? How do you take a kid who's just gotten their first pair of cleats and help them become a really skillful, smart player? Well, today we're going to break down a super clear step-by-step framework to do exactly that. Let's dive in. You know, every single pro, every star player you see on TV, they all started right here, on a field just like this one. Just full of energy, so much potential, and a real love for the game. And our job, as coaches, is to take that raw potential and nurture it in the right way. Yeah, we see the amazing final product in players like Erling Haaland, that incredible awareness, the way he moves. But listen, that didn't just happen out of nowhere. No way. It was built piece by piece, layer by layer. And it all started on smaller fields, learning the absolute basics of space and timing. So that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? The one every single dedicated coach asks themselves. It's not about finding some kind of magic drill or a secret formation that's going to solve everything. It's about having a clear philosophy, a structured process for development. So where do we even begin? Well, the answer, it might surprise you. You heard that right. It doesn't start with the ball. It starts with the body. Before a player can even think about mastering the ball, they've got to master their own body first. And that, right there, is the very foundation, the base of our entire development pyramid. Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to build this development pyramid right from the ground up. We'll start with the body, then move on to the science of the ball, then the skill progression pathway, then how tactics grow from technique, and finally we'll hit the very top, the coach's true goal. All right, let's jump right into section 1. Start with the body. This is the absolute non-negotiable foundation of all skill. You know, this quote from the U.S. Youth Soccer Manual, it just puts it perfectly. How can we possibly expect kids to control the ball before they can even control their own bodies? It's so true. We tend to jump straight into ball skills, but if a player isn't balanced or agile or coordinated, well, they're building their whole game on a really shaky foundation. And it all boils down to something called motor skills. First, you've got your gross motor skills. These are the big movements, right? Running, jumping, changing direction. Players have to get that down first. Only then can they start to refine the fine motor skills they need for those precise, delicate touches on the ball. It's always a progression, you know, from gross to fine. And this slide, oh my, it shows that connection perfectly. Look at the simple no-ball exercises on the left. Things like hopping, balancing, doing quick feet through ladders. That stuff is what makes the complex in-game skill on the right even possible. Seriously, one directly unlocks the other. Okay, so now we've got a player who can actually control their body. So we can move up the pyramid to section 2, the science of the ball. Now we need to teach our players how the ball actually works. Now this is one of my favorite parts because it's so simple, but it's like a secret code. Forget all the complex physics. Just teach your players this. The ball has a horizontal line and a vertical line. You strike it below the middle, guess what? It goes up. You strike it above the middle, it goes down. You strike it on the side, it's going to swerve. This one simple visual is an absolute game changer for teaching technique. And here's another great tool for you. Absolutely every single technique, I'm talking a pass, a shot, a first touch, anything, can be broken down into these 3 simple phases. First, there's the preparation. Then, the contact. And finally, the follow-through. As a coach, this gives you this universal tool to analyze and fix any skill. You just have to ask, what's happening in the prep? What's happening at contact? And what's the follow-through look like? All right, so we've got an athletic player, and they understand the physics of the ball. Perfect. Now, in section 3, we're going to build on that. It's time to follow the skill progression pathway, which is all about taking that raw technique from the training ground and putting it into an actual game. In this 5-step pathway is crucial because it makes sure you're not just teaching fancy moves, you're building real, usable skills. You start by introducing the technique. Then you let them practice it in isolation with no defenders. Then you slowly add some variable pressure. After that, you put it into a small-sided game context. And finally, you see if they can apply it in a full 9v9 scrimmage. It's like a ladder of learning. You just go one step at a time. So a drill like this one, dribble attack, is a perfect example of those middle steps, steps 2 and 3. At first, the players can just focus on the pure technique of dribbling past a passive defender.
Then you can tell the defenders to start applying a little more pressure, and that's how you create that variable game-like challenge. Then, as we move further up that pathway, you get to more complex drills like windows. Now look, players aren't just dribbling anymore. They have to be scanning the field, making decisions, finding an open teammate, and then getting a pass back, all while under pressure. This is a great example of step 4, applying that isolated skill in a real game context.
And this brings us to a really crucial connection in our pyramid. Section 4, tactics from technique. This is where the physical ability we've been building finally meets mental understanding.
Okay, let's get something really clear here. A key distinction. Technique versus skill. They're not the same thing. Technique is the mechanics. It's the how-to. Can you kick a ball? Skill, on the other hand, is the application. Can you complete a pass to your teammate while a defender is sprinting to shut you down? You see, lots of players have good technique, but far fewer are truly skillful. And our goal as coaches? It's to build skill.
Man, this quote is so important. A player could have the brain of a tactical genius. They might see the perfect pass, but if they don't have the technique to actually make that pass, then that option doesn't even exist for them. It's that simple. A player's technical toolbox literally limits their tactical choices. You can't be a chess grandmaster if you don't even know how the pieces are allowed to move. And here is a perfect example of what we're talking about. The tactic here is to stretch the other team's defense, to use wide play. But that whole tactic is completely useless if your wingers haven't mastered the technique of delivering a good cross into the box. So this drill beautifully connects the how, the technique of crossing, with the why, the tactic of creating scoring chances from out wide. And that brings us to the very top of our pyramid, section 5, the coach's true goal. This isn't about a drill or a tactic. This is about the mindset, the entire philosophy that should guide everything we do on the field. And this is the absolute core principle. At the youth level, our job is not to win at all costs. It's just not. Our job is to develop every single player. Real success isn't measured by the score on Saturday, but by the long-term improvement and the love of the game that you see in the individuals on your team. So let's wrap this all up and look at our pyramid one last time. We start by building the body, the athletic foundation. Then we teach the simple science of how to make the ball do what we want. We use a clear, structured pathway to turn raw technique into game-ready skill. We help them understand that skill is what unlocks tactical intelligence. And we do all of this with the ultimate goal of developing versatile, intelligent, thinking soccer players for the future. So in the end, every single decision you make as a coach, from how you plan your practices to how you dish out playing time, it really all comes down to one question. Are you building your team for this weekend's score or for a lifetime of skill?